The Lamborghini had been dead for 7 years. Not broken. Not damaged. Not waiting for parts. Dead. It sat beneath the bright morning sun like a forgotten monument, covered by a thin layer of dust that no amount of expensive detailing could hide. Collectors had flown in from different countries to examine it. Engineers from luxury automotive companies had inspected it. Specialists had connected computers, scanners, and diagnostic equipment worth more than most people's homes. Nothing worked. And now, standing beside that silent machine, billionaire heiress Celestine Voss made an announcement that shocked everyone present. She would pay $2 million to anyone who could bring her father's Lamborghini back to life. Before this remarkable story begins, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Dream Doll Tales if you believe kindness and second chances can change lives. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the smallest act can create the biggest miracle. The crowd gathered around the mansion courtyard grew larger throughout the day. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Reporters adjusted cameras. Mechanics arrived from prestigious garages across the country. Some came for the money. Others came for the challenge. A few simply wanted to witness history. But none of them truly understood why the car mattered. To everyone else, it was a rare Lamborghini worth millions. To Celestine, it was the last piece of her father. 3 years earlier, her father, Aldrich Voss, had passed away unexpectedly after a brief illness. The billionaire businessman had built one of the largest logistics empires in the country, but despite his success, he had remained a simple man at heart. His greatest treasure had never been his private jets, mansions, or investments. It had been that Lamborghini. The atmosphere became heavy with disappointment. Celestine watched from the mansion balcony, fighting back familiar grief. Every failed attempt felt like losing her father all over again. Then Rowan's turn finally arrived. He approached the Lamborghini slowly. No dramatic entrance. No expensive equipment. No team. Just a small metal toolbox. The crowd expected another quick failure. Instead, Rowan simply stared at the car. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. He didn't connect computers. He didn't remove parts. He just observed. His eyes moved carefully across every detail. Dust patterns. Wiring routes. Panel alignments. Tiny clues nobody else seemed to notice. The crowd grew restless. Some laughed openly. A few reporters began packing equipment. But Rowan remained focused. Then he opened the hood. For several minutes he examined the fuse box. Nothing more. Just the fuse box. The same fuse box that countless experts had already inspected. Finally, he reached inside and removed a tiny component. A fuse. Small enough to fit on a fingertip. The crowd exchanged confused glances. Rowan turned toward Celestine. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply explained that the Lamborghini didn't need millions of dollars in repairs. It needed a $9 fuse. The courtyard erupted with disbelief. Some people laughed. Others accused him of joking. A few mechanics looked offended. But Rowan calmly walked toward his truck. Inside a plastic organizer filled with ordinary spare parts, he found a replacement fuse. It cost less than a restaurant lunch. He returned to the car. Installed it. Closed the panel. Then turned the key. For one breathtaking second, nothing happened. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then the Lamborghini roared to life. The engine exploded into a thunderous symphony that echoed across the estate. Birds scattered from nearby trees. Reporters dropped notebooks. Mechanics froze in disbelief. And Celestine burst into tears. Not graceful tears. Not quiet tears. Years of heartbreak crashed through her all at once. The sound of that engine was the sound of Sunday mornings. The sound of childhood memories. The sound of her father's laughter. The sound she thought she would never hear again. As the Lamborghini idled beneath the afternoon sun, nobody cared about the money anymore. The moment felt larger than wealth. Larger than success. Larger than machines. For the first time in years, something precious had returned. The crowd erupted into applause. Cameras flashed. Journalists rushed forward. Everyone wanted Rowan's explanation. How had dozens of specialists missed something so simple? His answer stunned them. Because nobody looked for a simple problem. Everyone assumed the solution had to be complicated. The more expensive the car, the more complicated they expected the fault to be. So they searched for advanced failures. Complex electrical issues. Rare component breakdowns. Software malfunctions. Nobody considered the possibility that a $9 fuse could stop a multi-million-dollar machine. The lesson spread through the crowd like a wave. Sometimes expertise becomes a trap. Sometimes intelligence blinds people to obvious truths. And sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. The reporters loved the quote. But Celestine was thinking about something else. As she watched Rowan carefully pack his tools, she noticed he seemed completely uninterested in the attention. He wasn't taking interviews. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't even asking about the reward. Instead, he quietly prepared to leave. Curious, Celestine approached him. What she learned changed everything. Rowan operated a small repair shop in a rural town nearly 3 hours away. Business had been struggling for years. Large chains and modern dealerships had slowly pushed independent mechanics aside. He worked long days just to keep the doors open. His wife had recently undergone medical treatment. Their savings were nearly exhausted. Most people in Rowan's position would have desperately chased the reward money. Yet he seemed uncomfortable discussing it. When Celestine asked why, Rowan admitted something unexpected. He hadn't come for the money. He came because he saw a photograph of Aldrich Voss standing beside the Lamborghini years earlier. And he recognized him. 20 years before becoming a billionaire icon, Aldrich had stopped at Rowan's father's tiny garage during a road trip. His car had broken down in a storm. The young mechanic fixed it for almost nothing. When Aldrich tried paying extra, Rowan's father refused. Instead, he offered coffee and a warm meal. That simple kindness had stayed with Aldrich for decades. Years later, whenever interviews asked about success, he often mentioned the small-town mechanic who helped a stranger without expecting anything in return. Rowan never forgot that story. Neither had his father. So when he learned the car belonged to Aldrich, he felt obligated to try helping. Not for money. Out of respect. For several seconds, Celestine couldn't speak. The connection felt impossible. One act of kindness from decades earlier had traveled through time and returned when she needed it most. Her father had once been helped by a struggling mechanic. Now a struggling mechanic had helped preserve her father's memory. The circle felt complete. Yet what happened next moved everyone even more. Celestine transferred the $2 million into Rowan's account. Immediately. Without negotiation. Without hesitation. Rowan protested. He insisted the repair only required a fuse. He hadn't earned such a fortune. But Celestine disagreed. She explained that he hadn't fixed a car. He had restored something priceless. A piece of her father. A piece of her heart. No amount of money could truly repay that. Weeks later, news of the story spread across the country. People became fascinated by the mechanic who solved a $1 million mystery with a $9 part. Customers flooded Rowan's repair shop. Business transformed overnight. But the greatest change wasn't financial. It was personal. For the first time in years, Rowan no longer worried about losing his business. His wife received the medical care she needed. His employees gained job security. Families who depended on the shop could breathe easier. And every Sunday morning, something remarkable happened. Celestine drove the Lamborghini. Not alone. She often invited local children from community programs to join her for rides. Just as her father once took her. She wanted the memories to keep moving forward. Not remain trapped in the past. The car became more than a machine again. It became a bridge between generations. A symbol of kindness returning home. Years later, visitors to Rowan's expanded garage noticed a framed photograph hanging behind the front desk. It showed an old Lamborghini, a billionaire heiress, and a mechanic holding a tiny fuse between his fingers. Beneath the picture was a handwritten message. It read, "The value of something is not measured by its price. It is measured by what it means to someone's heart." Those words became the unofficial motto of the shop. Because everyone who heard the story eventually realized the same truth. The miracle was never the Lamborghini. The miracle was the kindness. A simple favor performed decades earlier had survived time, distance, grief, and circumstance. It had returned exactly when someone needed it most. And perhaps that is how goodness works in the world. Not always immediately. Not always visibly. But eventually. Like a seed planted long ago, waiting patiently beneath the surface. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Dream Doll Tales. Your support helps bring more uplifting stories to people who need them. Special request, comment below with the words, "Kindness comes back," if you believe every good deed eventually finds its way home. As the sun set one final time over the mansion driveway, Celestine parked the Lamborghini and listened to the engine gently fade into silence. For the first time in years, the quiet no longer felt painful. It felt peaceful. Her father was still gone, but the love he left behind was alive in ways she never expected. A struggling mechanic had reminded her that memories do not live inside machines, money, or possessions. They live inside people. And when kindness connects those people together, even the smallest $9 fuse can repair something worth far more than millions.